area about what these symbols are all about. Your choice. So now, in terms of sharing out, we're going to do a very kinesthetic research activity. All right. So we're going to collect some data, and you can do this with your classroom too. Like if you did, like, what does it take to be an effective middle school student? All right. Have these symbols up. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of those symbols of the two. Right. So you pick two. Now I want you to siphon it down to one. And I want you to go stand in front of the number for that particular symbol. All right, and when you're there, you got to count up how many people are behind your screen. And I realize we won't have all of our symbols.
This is really broken. You have to hold it the whole time?
You kind of a bar graph. All right. So we'll go around. So this would be a cool way to have kids say, "Oh wow, we're all rubber bands. The majority of them are rubber bands, or we got a couple." All right. So I'm going to put you on the spot now, and not everybody, but just here and there. And maybe explain why you chose your symbol. Is that cool? Yeah? All right, so paper or rubber bands. What do you think? Why rubber band for middle school?
I chose rubber bands because they can hold everything together. So making connections and blending things together.
Cool. All right, anybody else?
I chose rubber band because it's so incredibly flexible in middle school setting or any teaching.
So holding together, flexibility. Yeah.
I chose flexible also being able to stretch. How to stretch yourself out to be able to do everything.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay, this may sound weird, and I agree with them too, but I thought the initial thing I thought was my basketball coach used to have a rubber band on his hand, and he'd like snap it if he got like stressed.
Okay.
So like the first thing I was like stressful, like you have to be able to like control yourself and your environment and your classroom.
Really cool. I like that. And also with the snapping is you can stretch yourself to a certain degree, and then you might do what? You might snap. All right. So you have to take care of yourself. And for mine, you see, I got all these bands on my arm doing the same type of thing. So we got to control, flexibility, holding it together, and you have to take the shape of whatever kids come to you. Right? I mean, that's what kind of middle school teachers do. All right. So are you merge sign or tornado?
Tornado.
Oh, tornado. Okay, why?
Well, a lot of times I feel like middle school can be crazy and chaotic and confusing, and so, but in the middle of a tornado is the calm eye of the storm, and so if you are surrounded by all that, then you can be that calmness for the students as well.
Excellent. And if you're the only tornado in the whole school, right? So you got to be that calmness that everyone looks for. All right. Paperclip.
I chose it for very surface reasoning. Organization is everything. So my past teacher I was with, I know I went through so many paper clips trying to help him keep organized. That's the first thing I thought of.
So you were helping your
Yes.
mentors. Awesome. Now, paper clips. Are you talking about like metal paper clips, or do you have in your mind like the vinyl coated ones, the colored ones? Like what kind of paper clip do you have?
Just the standard ones, I
Standard.
guess. Yeah.
I'm kind of a vinyl coated. I used to have a color coded system in my classroom, so I had folders that I had a red folder for second period, blue, and then green, and then yellow for the different periods of the day. And one folder, I had two red folders, one for second period. So one was papers in, the other was papers out. And that was my system for myself. And then I had paper clips. So if something had like a red paper clip, I knew that was for second period, blue paper clip, I knew that was for third period. That was kind of crazy, but that kind of helped me. I'm a very visual person. All right, you chose light bulb?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
When you look at a light bulb, you think bright, and we should bring forth our brightest and best work for our children.
There you go. And there are going to be some days when you feel like you're operating on a dimmer switch, right? Like, oh, it's Monday, it's October the 10th, and you know, oh my gosh. And other days you'll be like, hey, you know. So it's about being a consistent wattage for our students. And then the challenge then becomes, how do you make every teacher on your team or in that school also be an engaged light bulb and not be on a dimmer switch or be on the off switch or whatever. All right, so here we are over here. So tree.
Yes.
Why did you choose tree?
I chose the tree because trees are they grow and they expand, and it's a continual thing. And so we as teachers, we have to be able to grow and expand and prosper. And not only just as teachers, but we have to be able to share that with our students, how to do that, how to grow, and explain that it's a continual process. It's not something that happens overnight.
Excellent. So where do the roots fit into that metaphor then?
Well, I think the roots kind of form on an individual basis. That's like your root, that's who you are.
Okay, so always remembering from whence you came, but always branching out. Okay, so you guys both chose glasses?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually chose tree and glasses.
Oh, you chose tree
But I
and
chose
glasses.
glasses.
Wow.
And I chose glasses because, you know, like glasses help you see better. Teachers help students see things that they might not have seen without their help.
Oh, cool. All right, good. So giving students different perspectives on things and stuff like that. All right.
Kind of along the same lines, I chose it because we have to be able to see different things in our students that they might not see in themselves. And kind of showing them with the eyes that we have, you know, the talents, gifts, abilities that they have, and encouraging them to use those that
Excellent.
they might not have seen otherwise.
That's brilliant. Yeah, helping kids see themselves in a different way. A lot of students, like if you think about the story of school, right? The story of school. You think about what characters are in the story of school and what the plot of a general school year is and what the plot of a general day is. Some kids don't see themselves as major characters in the story of school. They're minor characters. Or you know what? I'm not even a character in this story. I'm going to create my own story. And it may run contrary to your story, so good luck. All right, so how do you make a kid who feels like a minor character in the story of school see themselves in a different way and say, you know, you are a major part of the story. We need you here to write the story with us. All right? So you chose the sun?
I chose the sun because I can base it on where I'm at now, and that the sun is the warmth, the positive influence, the sort of ray of hope that our students get maybe all day long, and they get it from the teacher more than anybody else they're going to get during the day.
There you go. Yeah, and the sun doesn't just happen on its own. I mean, it's like a fusion and all that kind of stuff, making the brightness happen. So what are the ingredients of the school day that a teacher can bring all those different parts together to share that brightness and that warmth, right? And you didn't choose sun because your son isn't.
No,
Sun's a nice coincidence.
I could probably pick another word for him.
Pick another word for him. All right, so you chose bicycle or roller
Okay,
skate?
I'm a bicycle.
You're a bicycle, okay.
Yes. I work in an inclusion classroom all day, so it takes a lot of people showing a lot of their strengths, all working together towards the same goal for us to achieve anything and to make the work easier.
Excellent. So in your inclusion class, are there 2 teachers in there?
There
so
are.
It's a bicycle built for 2.
Right, but you also have to keep in mind the other students' strengths and weaknesses to pair them up and to see what works well together
That's
to
cool.
make everybody's load lighter.
Excellent. If you haven't taught in an inclusion class, raise your hand if you have taught in an inclusion class. Okay. If you have not, get to know these people because that setting is very unique and that experience is very unique, and there's some definite, I don't want to say do's and don'ts, but there are definitely things that, hey, this is how this classroom works versus any other type of classroom. That's really cool. Thank you. All right, yes, ma'am.
I picked the sandwich
Cool.
because teachers have to be, like the sandwich has multiple layers. So not only does our thinking have to be in multiple layers, and thinking needs to be diverse. Our students, we think of our students as diverse. Each part of them makes up a sandwich or makes a whole big classroom. And also, we as teachers need to not be just concentrated like on just the ham of our content, but also we need to be, you know, the cheese of science. And, you know,
The cheese of science.
we have the cheese, and like, you know, English might be the mayonnaise, and
Right. And all the parts work
all the
together.
parts have to work together.
What kind of bread would you choose for your sandwich? Would it be like a wheat?
Be like Italian herbs and cheese.
Got some like different flavors going on and stuff, a little exotic. All right, give yourself a round of applause. Good job, good job. All right, all right. So what we're going to learn about, and just kind of talk about and discuss, is the 16 characteristics of an effective middle school. This is 40 years of research that CMLA has done about effective middle schools. But then we're going to talk about, all right, that's nice, but what can I do in my classroom every day to help these, principles come to life? All right, let's remember that. Middle school teachers. We know what we're doing. All right. Okay. Just a little bit about CMLA. If you were in my morning session, I apologize All right, so AMLE, like, we were the National Middle School Association, now we're the Association for Middle Education. But you can follow us on Twitter, email, and participate in Twitter. Raise your hand if you tweet, if you're a Twitterer. All right. If you don't tweet, that's totally fine, but it's not just about following the Kardashians, the election people, but there is lots of great learning going on. So every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, it's MS Chat. So all you have to do is follow that hashtag, and you'll see the conversations that are happening, and of course they're talking about middle school, MS Chat. There's also NT Chat, which is the teacher chat. I don't know the date and time for that, but if you go on the interwebs, on Google, and you type in Twitter education chats, they'll give you a whole big spreadsheet. Every single Twitter event that's happening all over the world. So what's cool is like we jump on. So last night I was on this after the fireside chat with myself, and we were talking about the importance of school and life balance. And last week we talked about like homework, and the week before we talked about classroom structure. So and you get perspectives from all over the country and all over the world. And then AMLE has its own AMLE web chat hashtag for our free webinars. So we do free webinars usually on Wednesdays from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we have a Twitter thing on the Monday after that because it's just there's so much conversation. You can email me. This looks like it's just me. I have to stand over here. All right, so I apologize. I'm not trying to stop. All right, so you can email me anytime. You can follow me on Twitter. We also have our annual conference going on in Nashville, and then next year, October 15th and 17th. Go ahead and mark your social calendar. So it's in Columbus, Ohio. Any speaker, any topic you want to know, hear about, we got. All right, all right, talk about this. This is who I am. So this is what I do. Before that, I was a middle and elementary school principal and assistant principal. Before that, I was a middle school teacher, 6th and 7th grade, and 8th grade, English language arts, social studies, and reading. And then before that, I was a high school teacher, so 9th and 10th grade basic English. So kids who didn't know how to read or write or speak English, I was their teacher. And that was in Harrisonburg, Virginia, #2 culture capital of the world. So I had kids who worked the shift at night, and then they come to my class, and I had to teach them how to speak and write and read English. And then before all that, though, so this is my 20th year in education. So before all that, though, I was this person. All right. All my other photographic evidence of middle school has been, burned or something like that. But I always like to include that part, not only just to embarrass myself, but that's remembering who you were as a middle school student is a key to being successful as a middle school teacher. All right. So it's very easy to get caught up in the daily minutia of adult work and adult mindset and teacher mindset. But try to, before you jump on a kid, that they're not turning their homework in, et cetera, that you say, all right, well, what kind of kid was I when I was in 6th grade? All right. Okay, so what I want you to do right now, do you have a little piece of paper or anything that you can use? Like one of the tablets from, that you got from the conference? One of the little dealies? If you don't have a piece of paper, I can give you one. Just this, that's all you need. Everyone got one? Go ahead and rip it out. Yeah. Okay, you done it? So, what we're going to do is a little activity, and then maybe you've tried this activity. If you haven't, that's okay. It's called snowballing. All right. If you haven't, it's totally cool. You can do it another way for kids too. If you put a trash can in the middle of the room. All right, you see where I'm going with this. So, what you're going to do is on this piece of paper, you are going to write down answers to certain questions that I'm going to magically reveal. All right, you don't have to write like a novella or anything like that. Just, a couple of words and phrases. And then I'll tell you what the next thing is. All right, so the first thing I want you to do right on this piece of paper, you don't just write your name, is the answer to this question. How do young adolescents learn best? How do they learn best? Remember, it doesn't have to be a complete sentence. About 10 more seconds. 10, 7, 6, 4, 2, 1. Are you ready? Now you're going to take this very pristine piece of paper from the Georgia College State University, and you're going to crumble it up into a ball. All right, now, on the count of 3, you're going to chuck this piece of paper across the room, okay? the kind of aggression issues that you might have with somebody else. All right. And then the second step is that you're going to go find a different snowball. So if you get your own, you have to be honest. You'll get a different snowball and unravel it and read what someone else wrote. And then just wait for step 3. Okay? So on the count of 3, you're going to chuck it. 1, 2, 3. Chuck it. All right, now you got to get up and find one and hide under tables and stuff. You want to go away with it? Okay. Couple there's one up front. Oh, here's one. Yeah. One up and get it. Anyone without a snowball? Everyone got one? Okay, so unravel it and see what somebody else wrote. All right, now if I was doing this with my class, we had time to do it, I would have each person share like what they've got on their paper, and then we chart it up. All right, and if I really want to document it, because if you give this activity to kids, you have to be ready. Some kids will write down some nonsense. So one way to guard against that is write it and put your initials. So that way, kids are like, well, I don't want them to know that I wrote something bad. All right, so yeah. I'll explain the next part. All right, ready for the second question? All right. Second one. To teach young adolescents effectively every day, I need more what? All right? And watch out, this is a family environment, so let's not, I had someone write alcohol one time. That's a different conference altogether. All right, so I need more what? You're right, it's on the same paper, the different one that you got. So I'll start with energy. Okay, all ready? All right, 10. I'll count it. 6, 5, 2, 4. All right, ready? So you're going to throw it, and then you're going to find another snowball, and then you're going to wait for the next question. Ready? So 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. All right, there you go. Okay, go on the hunt. Find that snowball. You got one over here. All right, does anyone have one that's just jumping off the page? You can't help but read it. You just want to read it. You need more what? I saw someone write creativity.
I was about to say this.
Okay.
Someone right here.
Yeah, so a couple of those say creativity. Remember, there are lots of resources out there. If you don't have creativity, lots of, how am I going to do this activity? Remember that you're not the only one standing on the mountaintop. You've got teachers around you that not only at this conference, but then that will be at your schoolhouse to reach out to. And Pinterest is great. I'm serious. Pinterest is a great place to find a lot of great activities. So yeah, and of course Twitter and all the social media, lots of different places you can find activities where you look like you're a very creative person because you got it from somebody else. All right. So you ready? Last question. I think this might be a metaphor. Journalists, we'll see. No, okay. Actually, no, don't do this one. Don't do this one. Okay, I want to change it up. So don't do this one. All right, ready? If teaching middle school was a food or an animal, what food or animal would it be? You don't have to say why. Just write a food or animal. It could be a food group. It could be an animal category, or it could be very specific, or it could be an imaginary. So, right? Look at that. Was definitive. She's ready to go. She's happy. All right. So if it's a food or an animal, what would it be? it. We're doing a little wagering, a little gambling here. I've created a very official bullseye. Okay? I'm going to put it on this chair. And whoever can land their piece of paper on, on the bullseye, you'll get the number, you'll get those extra points. Okay? So you ready? But if you go past the chair, you're out of the competition. All right, ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh! Oh, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Here we go. 50 extra points. All right. Now you have to explain why you wrote this metaphor with us. All right. This person said a chameleon. So who wrote chameleon? All right. Congratulations. 50 extra points. Ready? 1, 2. All right. All right. So why did you write chameleon?
Because every day and every class and every student is a different environment that you have to shift gears for, whether it's students or personalities or behavioral issues or learning disabilities, relationships with teachers, with administrators, parents, figuring out what that environment is. And now that you're truly anything about your identity and who you are, then you're adapting to your surroundings.
Excellent. Excellent. Well put. Yeah, there's a term called code switching that can be very helpful when you know how to talk to teachers, how to talk to parents, how to talk to administrators, how to talk to kids, all very differently. Now, what I would do if we had more time is I would go through and I would read some more of these, or if I was doing this in my class, I'd take these home, and then I'd take their responses and I'd chart them up and say, hey, look what you said about being an effective student again. See what you all said. Or if we were trying to develop classroom rules, we could say, all right, guys, we're going to write down 3 rules, and we'll chart them. All right? Now, wow, I get to throw something in class. That's really cool. And then I'll go back and I'll chart them up, and I'll say, listen, guys, all right, we have 25 rules that we all said we were going to do. Now, let's narrow it down to 5. And those will be our classroom norms for the whole year. Sound cool? So that's how you create a democratic classroom. Because if they write the Constitution, they'll defend the Constitution. But if you're the only one writing the Constitution, then they'll rebel against it sometimes. Okay, so that's a way to kind of get that whole thing going. All right, now that we've done some play, we can do some learning. So I'm going to hand out right to you. This is the graphic organizer. About 16 characteristics of an effective middle school. From this we believe. I know you all know that document, correct? All right, so this is page, what, do you know what page this is on in the book? Page 14. That's right. I knew you knew it. This is also available like in color and everything like that, but I put it in black and white, so that way if you know somebody who doesn't have this or doesn't know about this, we believe in 16 characteristics, you can make a copy and say, listen, you need to make sure this is in your classroom right now, all right? Hang it up in your classroom and they'll ask about it. What is that graph? What's that this week? All right, so what we're going to do is, in order to talk about all these 16 characteristics and what they mean, we don't have enough time to go through all the characteristics. We have 5 tables. Okay, so this is what we're doing. Okay, so for each of these, we're going to do a little gamifying. So what I want you to do is look at the characteristics. So for curriculum, instruction, and assessment, we need these things. But we're not going to have time to talk about all of them. Now, all of you are in the school, correct? All right, so I'm going to give you a dice. And at your table, you're going to roll the dice, and whatever number it lands on, that's the statement you're going to talk about. Does that make sense? So if you're giving an assignment to kids, and you have, do it easy. You have 6 problems. Put 6 math problems, 6 social studies questions, 6 whatever. And say, all right, guys, I want you guys to focus on number 3. That's a way that, and if you have kids do that, if you're going to do it in groups, that gives them choice, and it also gamifies the whole experience. There's a lot of research on how to and why we gamify things. All right, here's that. That's your dice. That's your dice. That's your dice. Okay, so we're going to be talking about different things, but we'll all come together in line. Okay, you ready? You're going to roll the dice and then talk about why this characteristic is important and what you see. Like if you're in a school, do you see this at your school? What are some challenges and some triumphs? What are some good things that are happening and what are some challenges? All right, so go ahead, roll your dice and then discuss. All right? I'll give you about 3 minutes. All right, roll one more time. Roll one more time. Okay, so wherever you are in the conversation, do another roll. Did I land on the same note? There is no 6. That's right. Differentiated instruction for, yeah, what happened Multiple intelligences. All right, so we talked a good game about the multiple intelligences, but are we really addressing them in our classrooms? All right, so asking for and giving help, please do that, okay? As a first-year teacher, I was scared to ask for help because I didn't want to seem like I didn't know what I was doing, right? All the principal's going to be all of my visits if I ask too many questions. Principals want you to ask questions. I know that from being one. What I get nervous about is a first-year teacher who doesn't ask questions and everything's in their room and I don't know what's going on. All right, so ask for help and give help too. Don't be nervous as a first-year teacher about giving suggestions. Please give those suggestions. Veteran teachers sometimes need to shake up, and you're bringing the fresh perspective and the fresh resources and do it. Okay, and then come with parents and cooperating and communicating. Cooperating and communicating. And doing it, of course, in a positive way, not just when kids get in trouble, or not just when they get bad grades and things like that. And making sure that email is very convenient. But I've seen emails to parents that are not appropriate. So, a couple different things with that. One, I've seen if you have an issue with a parent or a student or whatever, and it goes, just blows up, nothing calms it down quicker than a phone call or a face-to-face conference. 100% of the time. But if you do an email back and forth, 25 emails, that's not going to help at all. And then there's documentation that the parent can call for later on when they have an open records request, which you don't want. Okay? So, be very careful about that. If you have an email and you want to send it to a parent, send it to another teacher first. And say, listen, this is what I want to send to Mrs. Johnson. Can you please look at it before I send it? Or send it to your administrator and say, listen, this is the issue that we're having. I know I've talked to you about this before. This is the email I want to send to this parent. Will you please check it out? Administrators will love you to death if you do that, okay? They'd rather have that than an email they didn't know about, and then the parent emails them with your email attached saying, you need to know. You see what I'm doing? Okay, with leadership and organization, and it's already what time? 1:26, okay, yes. All right, so what I want you to do now with leadership and organization, roll the dice, and we're going to talk about one statement. We're only going to roll the dice once. All right, so these are the things that schools, effective middle schools, need to have. All right? So roll the dice, say why it's important, and what do you see in your school? It definitely can be. So that's where, like, a shared vision, meaning that a leadership team has developed the vision. It's not just a plaque that's sitting on the wall or a poster that's in the hallway that you walk by and don't even think about, but a leadership team involving every grade level